This is part 15 of the Irrational series. Link to the series playlist is below. Your first day at UA. You and Shinsou biked there together. You glanced at him as he focused on the road ahead, wind ruffling his hair. Despite not getting into the hero course, he seemed like his usual dry-humored self, ever since talking with Aizawa. You wondered what they talked about. Shinsou met your eyes quizzically. What? You quickly changed topic. Racy there! You were shooting down the road ahead before Shinsou could respond. Eiko, Shinsou muttered, but he put on a burst of speed and did his best to catch up. You were both out of breath when you entered the school. Shinsou consulted his papers. Looks like I'm headed this way. He gestured towards the hallway to the right. You were going the other way. You felt a pang, but you managed to flash a smile. Okay, see you after school. Shinsou gave you an amused glance and turned away, raising a hand in a later gesture. 1B, you read off your paper. Aizawa had arranged for you to be in the other class, so that you could learn from someone else for a change, and so that he didn't get complaints of favoritism. You couldn't wait to get started. Aizawa's point of view. He hadn't slept well, thinking about Eiko starting school today. He'd gotten up early to prepare lessons, then left for UA before she woke up, leaving a note and breakfast for her. Whether it was his lack of sleep, or his tenseness about Eiko going to UA, he wasn't exactly a ray of sunshine when meeting his new class. He scared the green-haired kid and the girl he was chatting with near the door, and told them off for wasting time socializing. He tested their fitness mercilessly. The green-haired kid had the mentality that Aizawa hated. He was willing to break his own bones just to succeed in the fitness test. Aizawa erased his quirk and threatened him out of breaking his arms. The kid figured out a way to minimize self-damage and remain functional, so Aizawa decided to give him a chance. Better to train the kid himself than to have him go out and break his arms with the other teachers. Just as everyone was settling back into their classroom seats, Vlad King threw open the door. Aizawa glanced at him in annoyance. Vlad? Then he noticed you standing behind Vlad with a sheepish expression. He pinched the bridge of his nose tiredly. What happened? Vlad answered, Remember that student who wanted to be in my class because of my experience with training similar quirks? Yes. Aizawa stared impatiently. He's deathly allergic to cats, so we're transferring Eiko to 1A. Aizawa glowered. She's my daughter, Vlad. I can't have her in my class. Vlad shrugged. I ran the issue by Nezu. That's what he said to do. Aizawa sighed tiredly, then looked up again. I'll talk to Nezu later. Eiko, come in. You wandered inside nonchalantly, examining the 1A students with curious, amber eyes. Vlad King shut the door behind him. Aizawa stared out at the class. There wasn't a free chair for you to sit in. This was the current layout. Mineta. He glowered. Switch places with Sero. The two boys got up hurriedly to switch places. Actually. Aizawa's voice made Mineta freeze as the small boy was climbing into Sero's spot. Mineta, come up here. Eiko, take Sero's old spot. Ojiro, bring a chair from the classroom next door for Mineta. Where am I going to sit? Mineta demanded as you sat down at Sero's old desk. Aizawa towered over him with a broad smile that made Mineta gulp nervously. Up front, close to your instructor. Ojiro returned and placed the new desk in front of Ayama's spot, creating a new front row composed only of Mineta. Mineta did not seem happy with the arrangement. He muttered complaints as he climbed into his chair. Meanwhile, you could feel a lot of eyes on you as you sat at your desk, but you were curious about everyone too. The kid in the seat behind you had a bird head. To your right was the green-haired kid who'd broken his bones in the entrance exam, and to the left was a cheerful redhead with shark teeth who exuded a likable vibe. In front of you was a girl with earjack earlobes and an outfit that reminded you of the band people Mike introduced you to sometimes to jam. You spotted a bracelet with a symbol from one of your favorite bands, and you resolved to talk music with her at the first opportunity. The moment the bell rang for lunch, many of your 1A classmates surrounded you in a swarm of curiosity. So, Aizawa-sensei is your dad? The green-haired kid asked eagerly. Yeah, you flashed a toothy grin. Everyone looked at you with respect. I would be terrified, admitted a cute pink girl with horns, shivering. I don't mind being in Dad's class, you shrugged. I don't think she meant about being in the class. I think she meant about having him as your started a kid with a lightning bolt in his hair. But he yelped in pain as the earjack girl jabbed him in the shoulder. What was that for? He protested. The earjack girl gave him a flat look. If Mina wanted to say what she meant, she would. You tilted your head in confusion, but the green-haired kid bombarded you with questions about your quirk, and you had to rush to answer him as fast as you could. I see, so you have shapeshifter abilities, but also augmented human form. Would that place you in the category of power-type quirks or heteromorphic? It might get kind of complicated if we factor in. His muttering grew increasingly excited and hard to understand. That's such an awesome quirk, enthused the shark-toothed redhead. You flashed a bright grin at him. He was like sunshine. Stop crowding her, instructed a stiff voice from behind you. You turned and saw the speed quirk guy, his hand coming down in a chopping motion. Adrenaline shot through you, and before anyone could blink, you grabbed his forearm, flipped him over your shoulder, and slammed him flat onto his back. Everyone froze in shock, silent, then backed away a step. You grimaced. I'm sorry. You looked down at the stunned speed quirk boy, his glasses askew. He was trying to regain the breath you'd knocked out of him. You surprised me. The speed quirk guy climbed shakily to his feet. The fault was all mine then. Let's start over. I'm Tenya Ida. He extended his hand to shake. You resisted the urge to leap back, instead offering a quick, closed-eyed smile and a handshake. Eiko Aizawa, you can all just call me Eiko, you said before retreating. You started to learn everyone's names pretty quickly. You sat next to the floating quirk girl, Ochako, for lunch. Ida and Deku joined. Ida's presence put you on edge a bit, but it was getting better. Ida, the way you talk, Ochako said excitedly. Are you a rich kid? You almost spat out your drink. Someone needed to talk to Ochako about tactfulness. But if Ida felt uncomfortable, he didn't show it. He launched into an excited description of his hero family. He seemed to look up to his older brother a lot. The next few days were a blast. After talking with Nezu, Aizawa grumpily informed you that you'd be staying in Class 1A. In the mornings, you had ordinary classes, including English, with Uncle Mike. He seemed to enjoy calling on you more than anyone else, which you tolerated with a mix of amusement and embarrassment. Lunch at the cafeteria was delicious, although you secretly preferred Aizawa's healthier, simpler cooking. Aizawa had you call him Aizawa-sensei instead of Dad whenever you were at school. Sometimes it was hard to remember to do that, but you did your best. The first time your hero costume arrived, it was skin-tight with a low neck. You laughed and sent it back, and after some phone calls they sent you what you actually wanted. Belted, loose baggy pants, comfortable for fighting, tucked into light grey foot wraps. A fitted tee, with a short-sleeve crop jacket for protection, and long fingerless gloves with more light grey wraps around the palm for extra shock absorption. Except for the hand and foot wrappings, everything was black or dark grey. Designed for stealth, a sheer face shield protected the eye region like an invisible eye mask. A practical design that you'd worked on for years. Everyone was curious to see each other's costumes. When you came out of the changing room, you spotted Ochako telling Deku that she hadn't wanted a skin-tight costume. You chuckled, knowing how easy it was to exchange. Unlikely that she would, after Deku's blushing compliments. Mineta and Kaminari ran up to you as though they'd been waiting. But Mineta looked appalled. "What is this?" he yelled, pointing at you. "You look like you're dressed for winter! We can't see anything!" Kaminari blushed and kicked Mineta to shut him up. Your eyes twinkled with mischief. "You can see my elbows," you pointed out generously, posing your arms to show off your bare elbows. You lowered your voice seductively. "I have pretty hot elbows, don't I?" "I hate you!" Mineta screamed. "Sorry, Eiko," Kaminari called, still blushing as he dragged Mineta away. You grinned toothily. "Eiko!" Jiro and Mina rushed up to you excitedly. "Sweet costume!" You and Jiro complimented each other in perfect sync. You both looked surprised, then laughed and fist-bumped. Mina laughed along with you. "You too, Mina," you added so she wasn't left out. "It fits your quirk and you rock it." "Thanks!" She twirled as smoothly as an ice skater using her acid, and stretched her arms up joyfully. Jiro smiled, and you laughed. On the afternoon of the second day, you had hero training with All Might. You observed the top hero curiously. You knew that Aizawa didn't think very highly of All Might, but he seemed all right. You were paired with Bakugo, fighting against Deku and Ochako. Ochako nudged you sympathetically when you got the assignments. "See ya out there, then. Good luck with Bakugo," she grimaced. You grinned. Once upon a time, Bakugo would have terrified you. He was always yelling and screaming, only a breath away from exploding. Literally. But now that you had fighting confidence, you could handle people like him. They weren't your favorite, but it'll be fun. You flashed a grin. Ochako looked surprised, then thoughtful. "I guess no one scares you if Aizawa-sensei doesn't." "Huh?" You looked confused. "What do you mean? That's not scary at all." Ochako stared at you as though you were crazy, but after a moment she made her expression normal and responded, "Yeah, haha." "Hey, extra!" Bakugo pushed his way through the crowd to glower at you. "We're up!" "Right," you grinned at him. His scowl intensified. "Stay out of my way. Got that?" "Of course," you shrugged. He seemed taken aback by that response. "You better," he muttered, turning away. "No problem," you said casually. "No way I'd want to try teamwork with you." He whirled back towards you, palm sparking. "What did you say?" You smiled with sass. "With your personality, coordinating would be a waste of time. It's only rational." "Say that again, extra!" Bakugo roared. Ochako was glancing between you and Bakugo in a panic. "Enough!" Aizawa's binding scarf wrapped around both of you, pulling you apart. You glanced towards Dad, meeting his glowing red eyes. "Stop messing around and focus." "Aizawa!" All Might exclaimed. "I didn't realize you were coming to watch." Aizawa relaxed the binding scarf and let his hair fall around his shoulders. "I'm still assessing their abilities," he muttered. "Right," All Might laughed boomingly. "Well, let's get started." You breathed in and out slowly to reduce your anxiety as you walked onto the training grounds. You still had to work hard to maintain control around someone as loud and hot-headed as Bakugo. You didn't want him to see how his anger affected you. It was so annoying. You felt so bold, saying exactly what you thought, but your body betrayed you with a pounding heart and shaky breaths. At least no one had been able to tell. You didn't plan to let any of your new classmates find out about your PTSD. As soon as you were in the training area, Bakugo ran off to go fight Deku. Apparently he had a history with the green-haired kid. Well, good. Guarding the missile thing was more essential to success. You preferred to keep that job out of Bakugo's explosive hands. If Bakugo was fighting Deku, that meant Ochako would be coming. Your ears twitched as you heard her steps. She was still a ways off, and trying to walk quietly, but her steps echoed clearly in your cat ears. Trusting your instincts, you left the missile to intercept her. The moment she rounded the corner, you pounced. You pulled her forward to throw her off balance and yanked the capture tape tightly around her. Ochako gaped at your inhuman fighting speed. "Wow, Eiko!" She smiled ruefully. "I guess you are a pro hero's daughter." For some reason, the remark irked you. It was like she was saying you'd outperformed her only because you came from a hero family. You knew Ochako meant well. She just didn't think about her words too much. "See ya," you responded, turning away. "I gotta go capture Deku." Then, the floor exploded. "Bakugo," you muttered. "So much for a second smooth capture." The exercise ended with Deku breaking an arm, again. You watched the following matches. Todoroki seemed to have the same "I can do everything alone" attitude as Bakugo, instantly winning the match with sheer power. You chuckled as you pictured what might have happened if he and Bakugo had been paired together. Class 1A was fun. Kirishima always made you smile. Ida was trying to be friendly as class rep. He seemed worried that he'd offended you, since you avoided him. The earjack girl, Jiro, was fun to talk music with. You both shared playlists with each other and planned times to jam. You felt instinctively comfortable around Tokoyami's quiet presence, and Asui seemed down to earth. in a way that you respected. Mina had taken a liking to you because of the way you sassed Bakugo. She was always excited to see you and super chatty with you. Kaminari asked you out, but you refused, with the explanation that you'd promised Aizawa that you wouldn't date until you were 17. So, can I be the first to take you out when you turn 17? He persisted. You looked at him. He was anxiously waiting for your response, as sparkly-eyed and hopeful as a Pikachu. It made you laugh. Sure, you shrugged. I'll hold you to that. Kaminari pointed at you with double finger guns, then ran out of the classroom. Mina came in a minute later. What did you do to Kaminari? He came out here all sparkly and bouncing off the walls. You grinned, amber eyes laughing. He's just like that. He's a Pikachu. Mina snorted. That fits. You loved your class. But you missed your best friend. No one understood you like Shinsou did. You still hung out with him after school, but he seemed extra busy lately. And it hurt that you were living your childhood dream, but Shinsou wasn't. After school, you found Shinsou on the rooftop of his house, tuning his bike with a rag slung over his shoulder and a streak of grease on his cheek. You wandered over in cat form, watching. His calm focus showed in his eyes as he worked. Your paws approached silently, and you rubbed against his leg. He looked down and smiled dryly. Good to see you too, Eiko. You shifted to human form, growing to your full height. It was annoying that he was still taller than you. Shinsou? You said, stumbling over your words. I've missed you. Shinsou looked at you, openly startled. You're always so busy lately, you continued awkwardly. And I don't know why. Nothing's changed, right? Shinsou looked away. You're really busy now, too, he pointed out. Yeah, you sighed. But you weren't even sure what you were trying to say. You just knew that you missed your friend, and something felt different between you ever since you joined the hero course. It was like he was more distant. You continued to look at the ground in frustration as you searched for words. But then you felt his arms wrapped around you. Huh? You thought, stiffening. Shinsou wasn't really a huggy person. But here he was, enveloping you with his warmth, pressing you into his chest, resting his chin on top of your head reassuringly. Nothing has changed, he said simply, and you could hear his dry grin in the words. Then he released you and turned his attention back to the bike. Okay, then, you grinned. And, thanks, Hitoshi. The next day, you jogged to UA for exercise. As you entered the gates and neared your building, you spotted the window to your homeroom classroom. On a whim, you leapt up, caught the window ledge, and pulled yourself up to open the window. Members of Class 1A looked over at you, startled, but Denki and Mina didn't notice because they were arguing about something. Denki, I'm gonna have to side with Mina on this, you grinned, standing in the window. Why? Denki wailed. Then he and Mina spotted you in the window, and did a double take. You laughed. Aizawa entered the classroom, telling everyone to get in their seats, but when he saw you in the window, he froze. Everything went strangely quiet as the class watched Aizawa's face drain of color. Eiko, he said in a strained voice. What are you doing? You shrugged and beamed at him. Why use the door when you can use the window? Aizawa was staring like he'd seen a ghost. Get out. What? You stared at him in confusion. But just go. Run a few laps around the track, and use the door from now on. Okay. You went to hop down to the campus grounds, then thought better of it, and dropped into the classroom to go out the door. You'd never seen Dad react to anything like this. You glanced back as you passed through the doorway, seeing him leaning on the podium, face still white. When you returned to your desk after running laps, everything was back to normal. Students writing notes hastily to keep up with Aizawa's lesson. That was weird, Mina commented later, when you two were eating lunch together. You shrugged. You honestly had no idea why Dad had reacted like that, but you decided not to pry. Aizawa had apologized to you later, but had offered no explanation. you'd accept that. If there was one person you trusted unconditionally, it was Aizawa. You ended up hanging out a lot with Mina, Jiro, Kirishima, and Denki. Why do all my friends like Bakugo? You complained. I don't, Jiro put in. Because Bakugo's fun to tease, Mina laughed. He's so manly, Kirishima enthused. He's just, cool, Denki grinned. You looked at them in exasperation. You know why I think you all like being around Bakugo? It's because you guys are almost as chaotic as Lord Explosion Murder himself. If you were civilized, you'd want to hang out with Ida and Midoriya's friend group. Denki looked at you with wide, innocent eyes. Us? Chaotic? Kirishima laughed, slinging an arm around your shoulders. You're not wrong. You know you love us, Mina added teasingly. You and Jiro exchanged a glance of amused exasperation. Besides, Kirishima added, don't you get along pretty well with Bakugo, Eiko? You snorted in surprise. Me? Since when? You laughed at the ridiculous comment. No, really, Kirishima protested. The way you're always throwing comebacks at him kinda sounds like you're having fun, and Bakugo seems disappointed when you don't come with us to hang out. Kirishima? Denki's eyes went wide with panic as he looked behind Kirishima. What? Kirishima laughed. You know I'm right. His expression turned to chagrin as he heard Bakugo's popping, explosive hands behind him. You, Kiri, Mina, and Jiro turned to see Katsuki Bakugo standing there. You all are loser extras, and I couldn't care less when Cat Ears doesn't show up. Tch! Bakugo snarled, sparking. Whoa, man. Kiri held up his hands placatingly. No need to get so worked up. Cat Ears, you protested. My name is Eiko. Oh yeah? Like I'm gonna remember a stupid name like that, Bakugo yelled. Do you want me to call you Kachan? You yelled back. Oof, grinned Mina, watching you and Bakugo as though it was a sports match. You've been talking to that nerd? His hands filled with rapid explosions. Call me Kachan and I'll kill you. You all left the room with slightly singed eyebrows. You had to practice breathing exercises for an hour after that. But the last person you'd ever show vulnerability to was Bakugo. Aizawa watched you interacting with Class 1A. The USJ rescue training was tomorrow. He hoped it would help his chaotic class to bond. Thank you for listening to Part 15. I did the audio editing this time because I sort of ran out of time to coordinate with people. And the art is by Gmark and also Sofi. I'm sure you can tell which is which because they both have very distinct styles. They're both amazing. And thank you all so much for commenting, supporting, and listening. See you next time. Bye. P.S. Bloopers. Where am I going to sit? No. Okay, try this again. I guess I should have said blooper, because there was only one. In any case, see you guys. Merry Christmas.